Leyton Orient 1, Man City 2, a classic modern day FA Cup tie. I am gutted for Leyton Orient. I really am. I felt they were unlucky in the end. They put in a brave and valiant performance. Of course, congratulations to Manchester City. They go through to the next round. The class of KDB when he came on, I really felt was the big difference between the two sides. But I want to get your views. I want to get your opinions on this. I want your thoughts and your feelings. And I'm left with the same feeling I felt when Spurs played Tamworth. I feel like in the FA Cup, we should make it more old school. Less subs, smaller benches to really give the lower level teams an opportunity. But I think Richie Wellens and I think Leyton Orient can be very, very proud. I'll tell you more about that, why I think that later. I think Richie Wellens and I think Leyton Orient can be really, really proud of themselves today. Of course, the golfing class, the resources, the KDB is paid more a week than the entire Orient squad combined. And that isn't a dig at City. It's just to make people understand the golf the golf and the difference between the two clubs in 2025. But Orient, look, I know a little bit about them. My brothers were Orient fans. They were there today. They were loving it. They can play some nice football, and they did when they attacked. They caused City problems. The goal they scored, I know it went down as an own goal, but those little memories, big memories for Leyton Orient fans, will live long into the years for them. So absolutely fair play. They really took it to City. It was a great game. I did want to see City go out, and it has nothing to do with my personal rivalry with Man City as a United fan. It's just for the FA Cup shocks. You know, I wanted Spurs to get beat by Tamworth, not because it was Tottenham, but it would have just been such big news for what I believe to be the greatest cup competition in the world. And look, Leyton Orient is a stadium that I grew up close to. My first FA Cup game I ever watched was a Leyton Orient game. We got tickets through school. I played in their youth system as a kid. I wasn't very good, but they had like youth systems, and I played there. And two of my brothers are season ticket holders, and so there is an affinity with them. There is a connection with them. And yeah, just very, very proud indeed. Great goal. They stuck it to him. They got very close to equalizing at the end. And I think Richie Wellens he's a very good coach, Richie Wellens. And I think he can take a lot of pride in the fact that his team bullied the new £60 million signing, Nico Gonzalez, off the pitch. Didn't think it was that much of a foul. The referee was letting a lot of those go throughout the course of the game. They nearly always do in these FA Cup games. Lower level football in England is a lot tougher, a lot more physical, and they sort of marry that up a little. Grealish had a few moments, but they locked off Grealish, £100 million player. They rattled Mamouche. Even when he had opportunities to score, he didn't take them. They handled Bernardo Silva very well. And in the first half, especially when they were knocking the ball into the channels, they were causing Lewis problems. Heiss, the new centre-back, looked absolutely all at sea. And they should be really proud. Richie Wellens should be proud of that Pep had to go to his bench and bring on Foden, KDB, John Stones. Yeah, to go and bring on these stars that were on that bench to win the game and see it out. And I think Richie Wellens will be disappointed right now, but I think when he sits down tonight, maybe cracks open a beer or a glass of wine, he'll sit back and reflect on how proud he should be with that. From a Leyton Orient perspective, from a Man City perspective, look, not a great day. As I said about Man United last night, loads of problems. And the win is great. You're still in the competition. But if you play this poorly, I know you won't have as many kids on the pitch, but if you play this poorly against Real Madrid on Tuesday, it will be an absolute beatdown. There's no doubt about that whatsoever. I thought they looked... I didn't even think Man City looked up for it in the first 30 minutes of the game. It was almost as though they were going through the motions. Some of the young players getting a chance that I've advocated for, I didn't see him running. I didn't see him working hard. There was almost a feeling of, we got this. It's Leyton Orient. This won't be a problem. And I don't think this City team have earned the right this season to take it easy. And I felt they were. And you saw a different City at the beginning of the second half. They upped the intensity. They were attacking with a little bit more vim. They were committing more numbers forward. Then the substitutions came. So I thought that they didn't take it as seriously as they should have done. And they came a cropper with that. And they were 1-0 down at halftime. It was heading towards being, it would have been one of the biggest upsets in FA Cup history and they needed KDB really to pull them out of that. They got the equalizer. Again, that was lucky. Decent shot, but going to be saved pretty comfortably by Keeley. But look, they get the job done. So a lot still for City fans to mull over. I think a lot of question marks over the new signings as well. I didn't think Gonzalez looked particularly good. Got bullied off the ball. Could he now be injured for a while? Let's see. Heiss is nowhere near ready for top-level football, in my opinion. I really don't think he is. So, Mamouche, I think is a real good player in there, but he did look he looked a bit wasteful today. And I'm looking at him and thinking this was a game for you really to get off the mark for the club, get some goals, get some assists, and just not at it. Miss some really big chances as well. But I'd love to get City fans' opinions. I'd love to get your views on this as well. And yeah, keeper Zoria Keeley did look pretty handy. Did look pretty handy indeed. Although I think for the KDB goal, he'll kick himself on that. He came out and then he hesitated. If he comes out, I think he gets there first. He stopped. That hesitation is really what cost him in that moment. But I think it's because it was KDB. Oh, shit, should I go? Should I not? Let's go to some of your super chats here. Of course, hit the like button, people. Get that smash right now. Make sure you're getting that done. Very, very important to us that you hit the like button. Not enough of you have smashed it so far. I don't know why, but get that done for us. Please, my people. Are you making 10 videos on how Leicester got cheated or only when it's for Arsenal? Are you still talking about this? I addressed it last night. So what are you talking about? As I stated after Man United versus Arsenal with no VAR, and if you go back and look at other games I've done match reactions for and the highlight show for where there's been no VAR, I've said the same thing each time. I'm not going in on the referees. I'm calling out the mistake. But the reason my agenda and why I focus so hard on the PGMOL is had there been VAR last night and they missed it, they drew the lines wrong or they didn't follow protocol, I'd be calling it out. Mistakes happen. We call it out. But when there's no way to rectify those mistakes, I don't have the same energy. I view it as a completely different situation. It's not because it's Man United. It's how I handle it. So I know you're frustrated that Man United got a goal that shouldn't have stood. I've said it shouldn't have stood. It was 100% offside. It was a massive mistake. But go back and watch my reaction and what I said in previous games with no VAR. If you're not happy with that, fair enough. But I've kept the energy exactly the same. Millwall, I'm at the game, 2-0 winners. I did see they were winning, actually. They've got through Pat Tate. Top man. Thank you for letting us know. Pat Tate. We got lucky. KDB, my GOAT midfielder. Do you know what? I did think he got lucky. Yeah, I would put, today down to a little bit of luck, especially as you were up against such a low rank side in comparison to yourself. I agree. Redback Spider here, who's an Orient fan, says, if only we played Spurs. Yeah, listen, I was gutted for yourselves, man. I really would have liked to have seen you have done it, just because I said it earlier, of course, there's a connection with my family to Orient. There's a connection with me to City because they're rivals. But I love to see it. The only, I love seeing these giant killings. You get fewer of them in the modern day era compared to years gone by. That's why I said earlier I'd like a rule change. Not because of today or not because of Tamworth Spurs, but I would just like it to be maybe a 5-man bench, maximum 3 subs in the FA Cup. The reason why I say that is I think it helps bridge the gap between the Championship, the League One, the League Two, the non-league sides, and the juggernaut teams at the top. In the Premier League, fair enough, we can make 5 subs. You can have a sub bench of 7 or even more than that now, maybe. But I think it kills some of the game sometimes when you look at it and you go, oh, look, this League Two team might be a Premier League team. Jesus Christ, they're bringing on 5 subs and they're all top quality players, fresh legs. I would just like them to bridge that gap a little bit more. I think we might get some more giant killings. And the reason I want that is I think it's great for the FA Cup, So, and that includes my team. My team is also going to be impacted by that. And yeah, I would like them to do something like that to make it a bit more old school because I love the FA Cup. I really, really do. And the big teams already have a massive advantage. And I just feel having 5 subs also, I think, just helps them. Someone says, I disagree. Terry, yeah, you're allowed to disagree. You're allowed to disagree. Absolutely. And do you know what? Maybe some of the lower level clubs also disagree. Maybe they like the idea of being able to bring 5 players on. They think they can threaten things up more. So they may like it. They may. And do you know what? In the earlier rounds, when Leyton Orient are playing non-league teams, they probably want a bigger bench for them. So that maybe they don't want it. It's just me looking from the outside in. if that makes sense, to try and stop it being such a large gap between the smaller clubs and the gigantic rich clubs. But that's just me. That's just me. There we go. City was outplayed is what Andrew Wright says. It depends on what you mean by outplayed. City played the better football for large periods of the game, but when Orient did come forward and play, they knocked it around nicely. They went a bit old school with putting it into the channel. City couldn't cope, and I understand why, because they won't do a lot of that in training. But I think the desire, the work rate from Leyton Orient was 10 times better than the majority of those Manchester City players, and it for a period of time in the game, along with a spectacular goal and some wonderful saves and blocks in their defenders, it leveled the playing field for a period of time. Terry, why are you being biased? We should have won 7-1. Mamouche was wasteful. Well, this is the thing. You may think I'm being biased, and you may think that I'm not giving you enough credit, potentially. Gundogan shot wide. I'm going to take nothing away from a League One goalkeeper pulling off brilliant saves. The blocks from some of the Orient players were absolutely brilliant. And if we want to play the game of goals, how about when Kilman, is it Kilman? I don't know all the Leyton Orient players' names. Number 23. Let me go and check what his name was. And I'll answer you this now, and I'll raise you what you've said. So let me find it. Where is it? That's League One. Why do they have the FA Cup so low on this list, man? It should be right at the top. It's so annoying that it's so low. I want to say his name's Kilman, but I might have. Yeah, Kilman. When he went through on goal, and his heavy touch, he didn't have that heavy touch, he might score. How about the another one from Kilman, a great cross when it was 1-1, and he flicks it and it just misses your far post. How about Happy at the back post, right near the end of the game, who blazes it over the bar? What about when Kilman cuts in on the right and shoots, and Ortega saves it? He was going in and he puts it out for a corner. They also had a good amount of chances. Yes, you had 24 shots and you had 10 on target. They had 13 shots. 3 of them 4 saves from your goalkeeper, but I had 2 or 3 that narrowly went wide that also could have gone in. So to say that I'm being biased and you should have won 7-1 and it was just because Mamouche was wasteful, I think he's wrong. I think he's wrong, and I think he's disrespectful when you look at the difference in class and money spent between the two sides. I really, really do. I really, really do. I think that's... I respect you. You're a long-standing viewer of the Terrace, but I think you're being a little bit... I think you're going a little bit over the top there, I really, really do. I really, really do. I love some of your comments at each other. League One sides are richer than National League sides, but let's ignore that. But that's also why I said what I did. I think that it bridges the gap between everybody if less subs can be made, as an example, and it makes it a bit more old school. That's why, as well, right? When it comes to, it's interesting when we discuss eras, because some people will say, "Oh, but Pep spent 10 times as much as Fergie." People go, "Oh, but you got to bring inflation up. You got to put inflation into it." Okay, so when it comes to those two, the eras being different with the amount of money that was in the game, we need to adjust. Do we do that when it comes to achievements? Do we say that winning the Premier League now is easier than all the people that won the Premier League when you can only make 3 substitutions with a 5-man bench? And those guys could make 3 substitutions with a 5-man bench. But there used to be a day when there was 3 substitutions from a 3-man bench. There was a time in football where there was 1 sub. There was another time in football when there was no subs. And this is why I think it's really important that you can't pick and choose. When you're comparing eras and when you're comparing levels of the game, I think you've got to be universal in your energy, if that makes sense. And there was once upon a time, you could pass back to your goalkeeper and he could pick it up, and there was no time limit to how long he could hold the ball. But it was also an era where the balls were much heavier and goalies wore no gloves. So look, I look at these things and I just find them interesting conversations to have. But I'm not ignoring what you've said there. I like the idea in the FA Cup of trying to bridge and narrow the gaps between clubs. And League One versus some of the non-league sides is massive, in the same way that Leyton Orient to City is massive. So yeah, why not look at something to bridge the gaps? I like the idea. Personally, I do. Leicester were robbed. Yep, absolutely. That goal shouldn't have stood. You keep saying it, but no Manchester United fan has said anything other than what no Manchester United fan has said anything different. I don't understand. I don't understand why people will keep saying it. We know We know that goal should not have stood. Terry, did you know the Championship is in the top 10 viewed leagues in the world? I'm not surprised. It's just something I've said a lot to. I remember having this conversation with Have Hope a lot, where he would talk about why on Match of the Day is there always such a focus on the English players. Said, well, millions of people that watch it don't support Premier League clubs. They like football, but they have a vested interest in England, in the English players. So there's a big focus on them. I'm not surprised the Championship's in the top 10 because millions of people in the UK support Championship teams. So therefore, it gets millions of views. So I can't talk for all other countries. I don't know enough about them. But people don't understand that football is it's a huge part of the culture of the UK at every level. There's 60-odd million people in this country. And I don't think it would be a shock to say 50%, if not more, of the population are involved at weekends and in the week with one element or more of football, whether it's taking their kids to grassroots games, like to watch their kids play and train, right through to supporting their teams home and away. I think even saying 50%, I would hazard a guess that 60 to 70% of the country are vested in it. So I'm not surprised. And there are other nations that probably have similar, but I don't know if that goes down their tiers. I would love to know the facts on how many people in Spain support the top Spanish teams in the Liga versus, there are certain Championship teams that have much bigger support than some Premier League teams, So, yeah, I'm not surprised to hear that at all. I'm not surprised to hear that one little bit. City fans need to remember you just managed to beat Leyton Orient. So, do you know what I did like, right? The City fans were giving stick at the end to Orient, which is fair because Orient were giving them stick in the game. But I have seen some fans online, not the match-going fans, some fans online. This one, I want to read you something someone said. This for me was mad. This City fan, whose name is DX De Bruyne 17, says, Leyton Orient fans were chanting, who the fucking hell are you, when Kevin De Bruyne came on and he just dunked on their head. And I'm like, the fact that people don't understand irony or a joke is unbelievable. One, of course, they knew who he was. They're not disrespecting him. They're giving him a bit of banter. It's part of football. And I think maybe it's lost. I don't know. Like we're young. I know young people banter is banned at school. I know you're not allowed to tell jokes. But Leyton Orient weren't disrespecting City at any point. They were having fun. By the way, just because City are bigger doesn't mean they can't give them a bit of stick back. It's really funny because I remember watching a game at Orient when I was younger, and I think they played. I want to say they played Bolton. They played a Premier League team, and the Premier League team were chanting. The song was "My Garden Shed." My garden shed is bigger than this, about the stadium. It has a window and a door. My garden shed. And I thought it was funny. Orient fans laughed back. Then my brother started telling me that when Orient started going away from home to grounds that were much smaller than theirs, they started singing the same song. The problem that sometimes happens now is people don't understand I know we've had a horrible week where the media have tried to stop banter. It has to be part of our game. If you get Orient were laying at the 50th minute, that wasn't because they were disrespecting Orient at City. They were having some fun. You understand now they wouldn't do that if they were winning 1-0. They won't do that if they're winning 1-0 at 50 minutes against Mansfield or Macclesfield that they're playing on Tuesday. Today was a party for them because they're playing one of the greatest English teams of all time at their stadium at a round of the cup they rarely get to. People have got to learn to lighten up a little bit when it comes to football. Do you know what I mean? Really learn to lighten up a little bit and don't just be so angry all the time. It is crazy. And I also think as well, people don't understand English humor and British humor. We love irony and we love sarcasm. So I think sometimes one of my, like a lot of my family are based in Australia. They get it. I've got cousins that are married to Americans. They just don't ever see the irony and the sarcasm in our jokes. They get really personal and touchy with it. It's like, we have to explain it again, aren't we? It's just, maybe there's a little bit of that. Terry's brother is a Spurs fan. No, he's not. I've got a brother who supports Arsenal, one that supports Liverpool, two that support Leyton Orient, and then there's me. There's 5 of us. So no Spurs. My dad is a Spurs fan, but none of my brothers support Tottenham. Does my brother keep me informed of Orient? Me and my brother talk, innit? We're brothers, and he's my best mate as well. So we talk a lot. So I know what's going on with Leyton Orient. It's funny because I messaged him last night before I went to bed saying, like, go on the O's. he woke up at 5:30 to go bathroom, and he couldn't get back to sleep. He was literally just like up and buzzing all day. But yeah, him and my youngest brother are there now with their kids, and they'll be happy. They'll be gutted to have gone out, but they'll be happy with the performance. And look, I know that we live in a world now which is very elitist when it comes to football. It's about trophies and only about winning. That for me is just a sacrilegious abomination of an opinion towards this beautiful game. I won't speak about other nations' relationship with football because I don't know enough about it. But what we saw today was a classic FA Cup game of a giant club versus a much smaller club. Great banter amongst the fans. A little bit of heartache with City, and they were under pressure. Quality players coming on, some brilliant goals, tackles being left in. For me, I don't want to sound like an old man, but I don't care if I do. That for me was proper football, proper FA Cup football, and it's why it's the most beautiful and the most historic cup competition in the world. And all the other cup competitions you like in football, without the FA Cup, they wouldn't exist. Do you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, well done to Orient, and of course, well done to Manchester City today, because you made it proper for everybody watching. Terry's a romantic. Yeah, with certain things, you know, with the lady in my life, with my children in a lovingly fatherly way. Like, you know, I like doing things like that. And yeah, with football, I'm a romantic. I am. I was going to say also with my pets, but I want to be very careful how that comes across. But yeah, there's certain things in life I'm romantic towards and sentimental towards. Yeah, of course, absolutely. You know, it is what it is. And yes, you're right. Football is a beautiful game, and we should be respecting it. Time to bring out Omar and Kel to have their say on today's game. Make sure if you haven't done so already that you hit the like button, please. Get that hit. Get this shared as well. Would like as many opinions on it as we can. Kel is here. Omar is here. Welcome back to the two of you. Long time no see. Sorry we didn't speak to you on the last time you called in, Kel. We didn't get around to you. So I think you were in an airport.
Oh, I was in the airport, yeah. It's probably better I didn't speak. I probably would have gotten banned from your show. Not very happy after that game. Not happy today either. I'm tired right now. I had to wake up at 4 a.m. to watch that, and that was the game I got. Oh, rough. That was a rough game. We have no midfield. I've been whining about it way too much this season, but we have no midfield. And yeah, it really showed today. This team is too soft too. They cannot deal with any sort of physicality. Like everybody just falls down, and yeah. Leyton Orient really wanted it, and I was very impressed with them. I thought they were the better team by a long shot in the first half. We just didn't look up for it. And I think that was too small of a sample size to judge Nico Gonzalez. He made a pass today that reminded me of Rodri, and I just got sad because I was like, I miss Rodri, but it was nice to see that pass. And then, of course, he gets injured. So I'm kind of wondering if we're just cursed on the DM position this season. Maybe we're just not meant to have one. But Kevin De Bruyne bailing the team out. Not much else to say.
I wanted to ask you about Nico Gonzalez. I know he went off injured. If I was a cynic, I felt like maybe he's hurt. It just felt like he got crunched in a bit of a tackle and then wanted to come off. If I'm a cynic, maybe that's how I see it. It was just he looked a little bit lightweight for me today.
It's too hard to say, man. It's 20 minutes. That guy did land on his hip pretty badly, so I'd be crying like a little bitch if that happened to me. So I don't blame him. And I guess he came onto the bench, so hopefully he's okay. I wonder if it was just precaution, since they're gonna need a big time against Madrid.
Yeah, I get that. What did you make of your new centre back, Heiss?
I thought he was fine. Nothing notable, but nothing like bad. I thought he was fine. I was more impressed with Husanov, the guy who came on in the second half. Not just because of the goal, just that recovery pace, man. That is what our back line is missing so badly.
He looked very quick.
We need some pace, man. Quick. It's a bunch of grandpas back there.
Well, it wasn't a bunch of grandpas. It was loads of kids, but they didn't have any. That was the one thing I thought about Heiss. I was like, he ain't got any pace. He's going to get in the Premier League. He could get eaten alive.
I mean, he's a baby. He'll need some time, and we know he needs to bulk up a little bit too. I'll just call it a mixed bag. I just think it was fine. I'm not going to say it was some great debut, but I didn't think it was like terrible.
Okay. A few people in the comments saying Terry, really, Terry, he got cranked. Yeah. Did you hear what I said before I asked the question? I said, if I was a cynic, Like when someone prefaces a question with that, it's just me being it means you're playing devil's advocate. It's not me giving an opinion. Honestly, my people, learn about the language that we are speaking. Is when I say, if I was a cynic, you might ask this. I'm playing devil's advocate as a host. Questions are not statements. We need to drop this nonsense. Omar, what did you make of today, bro?
In the end, I was very, very sad when De Bruyne scored the winner, to be perfectly honest. Obviously, you know, I don't hate City. It was just one of those stories of the FA Cup, right? It really looked like it when Leyton Orient scored that opening goal, right? When it was halftime and they were 1-0 up, I was looking at it, I was like, man, could we actually see one of the big upsets of like this is gonna be one of the biggest upsets like go down in history, like, and one of the biggest upsets in FA Cup if they manage to do it. But there's always a way to lose games, and I think they will leave that stadium today with their heads held high because they really gave it their all out there today. Absolutely. And as far as City are concerned, hopefully for their sake that Nico Gonzalez is not out for too long. Hopefully not, right? Because, you know, they need a defensive midfielder. And listen, at the end of the day, losing a defensive midfielder is not exactly, you know, the best news to see. But one thing I will say about City is the fact that they had to rely on like their bigger names. It shows that, for me, there's something intrinsically wrong with like City, like all around, right? And I think that as much as, you know, it was a great comeback from them today, they have a game in the midweek against Real Madrid, which is going to be a much, much more tougher game. And I think that when I look at the way they are defensively, I'm worried for them. You understand what I'm saying? But as far as today's game is concerned, I mean, listen, fair play to Leyton Orient. You gave it your all today. Like, you were not expected to win that game, but you gave it a good game today. As a neutral watching that game, I was very, very impressed with them. Right? They really tried their best. Like, against, come on, let's be real. This is Man City after all, right? This is the champions of England, right? And to really give them the game that you gave them today, let's be real. No one expected that. So at the end of the day, I just have to say fair play to City for the comeback. They had to rely on their key players at the end to really get the W. But at the end of the day, that for me, I feel like it's more of a credit to how good Leyton Orient played today. Yeah, honestly.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that we've all seen our clubs go through this. I saw it many times with Fergie at United, where you go, right, we'll rest some stars, we'll have them on the bench, and then you're forced into bringing them on. And I always think that's a massive compliment to the smaller side, that you're forcing a team to. You've got to remember, they played Salford in the last game, who I think are only a league below. And I know it was at home, but they smashed them for 6, 7, or 8. And there's only and Salford are a decent team in League Two. There isn't like a huge difference between Orient and Salford in terms of the pyramid of the game. So yeah, I think that's why it demonstrates that. There's a question here. Obviously, I'm going to ask a question based on this comment. Sam, who's a United fan, said Rico Lewis is another bum. What's your take on Rico Lewis, Kel? I mean, I know the bum thing's a bit harsh. Do you think he's good enough for Man City, in your personal opinion?
I think he's good enough when you have more physical players on the pitch, because he is very short and he is just not very bulky, and he's very easy to bully. And we were playing a team that was very physical today. And I think he can work on this team. I just think he needs to hide behind a couple of like bigger, taller players, because like we've seen how quality he is. Like there's a reason why João Cancelo got ran out of the team, because he got replaced by 17-year-old Rico Lewis, who was outplaying him. And I think like for Pep to trust a 17-year-old like that season was huge, but he could hide behind Rodri, because like the two of them worked really well together, because Rodri is the big physical player who does all the defensive work, allowing Rico to push forward into the midfield. But we just don't have that this season. Like our midfield is pudding soft. I mean, Gundogan is short and he's not physical. Kovacic same way, and Bernardo same way. So when you have like 3 or 4 of those players all playing together, they easily and constantly get overrun. So I think when there's other players to kind of carry him, he can work on this team, but this season we just don't have that. And that's why he's been struggling really badly. And he's also just not really a defender. I think he can work as a midfielder. I think he's very intelligent, but again, there's just no cover for him, and you just can't do it. All these little short guys together is the reason why our midfield has been complete trash, and we're constantly getting overrun there and beat there. And he's very easy to target.
I think you guys need like a complete reshuffling of your midfield, because I'll be honest, I think guys like Bernardo Silva, they're done. Like seriously, they're done. That's like Gundogan, they're done. I mean, even De Bruyne, even though today he scored, like, you still gonna be relying on De Bruyne next season? Like, you shouldn't be relying on a De Bruyne at this point anymore. I feel like you guys next in the summer really need to put a lot of like a lot of your window needs to be on the midfield, honestly. And I would say maybe get some players out wide as well, right? Maybe like another winger in the team, because Grealish today, great assist from him. I think he got both assists, right? He assisted on both goals.
You got the assist, yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, listen, good for him. But I said this earlier. I'm like, for me, Grealish is one of those players. I just don't think he works under Pep's system.
No.
Even though yes, because he's a top player, and I still think that he can do a job for a certain team. I just don't think City is that team. Like I've always said this. For me, Pep Guardiola doesn't really do well with ballers, Jerry. He doesn't do well with ballers. Like unless your name is Lionel Messi, like he doesn't really give ballers the freedom to really ball out. You understand what I'm saying, right? He's such a systematic manager. He always wants players to have a role in the team. Everybody has his role. This is what you do. This is the only thing I want from you. I don't want you to do any of this other stuff. And that's the thing with Pep. So if you're a baller who likes to have freedom on the ball, Pep is not the guy. That's why when Grealish signed for them, I was like, I don't see it. It's not gonna work. Because I remember when he had Götze, he ruined Götze because he wanted Götze to play a specific role at Bayern, which it really hampered him. Right? The same thing I see happening to Grealish at City. So I think yes, I think next season that's what you guys really need to do. You need to go out there and actually they need to go out there and get some better midfielders and get rid of like this midfielder like Bernardo. Like, Bernardo has been wanting to leave for a while. They need to let him go, because he's been wanting to leave and he's finished. He's not the same guy anymore. Like I saw him today. He was awful. Like Rico Lewis wasn't great. But Bernardo Silva, he was sitting, like he came on for Nico Gonzalez, if I'm not mistaken, right? He came on for Nico Gonzalez and literally did. I don't really remember him doing anything of significance in the game, really. But that's really been him all season. That's really
No, I agree. And look, football goes through cycles, and I think what you said, Kel, makes a lot of sense. There's too many players in your team that are lightweight, and they're easily pushed off the ball, and they're easily managed in that way. And E-Link says something interesting here. He says, Terry, City are a jigsaw and they're trying to match up the wrong pieces. Rodri, believe it or not, is the main connection that we have, a connection piece that we have, and we'll see that with Nico Gonzalez. Listen, I'm not disagreeing with the point. I think it holds a lot of water. But that point is why I look at these modern day teams, and as great as City have been and as great as other clubs have been in this last 5, 6, 7 years, it's why I just don't think they can compare to as good as teams from yesteryear who could still maintain what they are in terms of their ethos and their philosophy if a big player went out of the team. Now, you may not be, if you lost your number one striker, you may not go on to win the league, but the team still look the same. And that's one thing I don't like as much about modern day football, is that it is so system orientated. If you lose a player or two, it's like the whole thing can come crashing down. But again, football will evolve again soon, and I think we're going back to an era where it's more about, there's going to be a lot more speed and power, a lot more directness. You saw Orient doing it today as an example. I think the Premier teams will start again. It's like, let's knock some balls into the channels and in the space and run into it, and then isolate a defender and take him on. I mean, that kind of football is actually quite exciting when you actually watch it. So yeah, you could be right there, E-Ink. You really, really could. I want to see them City mugs down south, fella. This is someone tends to be Pat. Do you guys know who Pat Tate is, or was? So Pat Tate was like an Essex drug dealer and gangster in the 80s and 90s. There's loads of films out about him called Rise of the Foot Soldier. This guy's obviously pretending to be him, so it's quite funny. Nathan says, well done, O's. You've done East London proud. Yeah, no, they did. The O's did. They did do East London proud today. They really, really did. They really, really did. So there we go. Anything else on your mind you want to say about the game? Because There's not much more to talk about. I did want to say, what did you make of their Orient's opening goal? It's what I don't know about you. I feel like they should just credit it. They should credit it to Donnelly for the strike. I know.
I mean,
just give the guy the goal. Who cares?
Yes, but unfortunately, we all saw that if it hit the crossbar, it was going to go out. It was going out. So unfortunately, we can't really like.
Yeah, I know. I don't know about you. I was looking at the spin. I was like, please be spinning backwards. It wasn't. It was going to go the other way. So
let's just assume. Let's say if the goalkeeper wasn't anywhere near the vicinity, right, and it would have gone in. Let's say maybe it might have hit the keeper and went in. I would have said, all right, give him the goal because it hit the keeper and then went in. But it hit the crossbar, then it hit the keeper, which basically meant it was going to hit the crossbar and go out. So unfortunately, as harsh as it is, man. Because it was a great shot, man. Like, it's unfortunate. It's one of those things where you're like, you want to give him the goal, but really you can't. You know,
but yeah, he'll still. Do you know what I like about goals like that in the FA? He'll dine out on that now for years. Yeah, he won't have to pay for a drink or a meal anywhere near East London for the rest of his life after that goal. I think so. Fair play to him. Look, Kel and Omar, always a pleasure to speak to the two of you about football. We're back later today after Brighton versus Chelsea, so make sure you're all tuning in. It's just, I'm checking if there's any redirects on this. I don't handle the redirects at the Terrace. There isn't, so it's not redirecting you anywhere. So we'll see you all in a few hours' time. Enjoy the rest of the FA Cup day. You two, enjoy your days wherever you are, whatever you're doing. Thank you both for coming on. I appreciate it loads. Take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you all again soon.